What's up guys, Mike here, the Detroit Borg, and today we're checking out the new Apple Magic Trackpad 2. So this is one of 3 new Magic accessories launching alongside the new 2015 iMacs. So the Magic Trackpad 2 joins the new Magic Keyboard and the Magic Mouse 2, but this is by far the most expensive of the new accessories at $129. The keyboard is $99 and the Magic Mouse 2 is $79. So before we explain why the Trackpad 2 is so much more expensive, let's get to the unboxing. So first thing we have to do here is remove the shrink wrap plastic. Once we do that, we can go ahead and slide the sleeve off the box. So the first thing that jumps out right away is how much wider this trackpad is from the previous generation. It's also 29% larger in terms of the surface area, and it's white instead of gray or aluminum colored. So lifting the trackpad out of the box, you can see it's wrapped in this sort of frosted plastic, which we can go ahead and peel off. Now the design very closely matches that of the new Magic Keyboard. We have this nice wedge shape, and the white sort of matches the keys of the new Magic Keyboard. So the trackpad, once again, has this sort of silky, glassy texture on the surface. I really like the way it feels. Pretty much feels identical to every other Apple trackpad you've probably handled before. Along the side, you can see we have this nice thin wedge shape, and it's wrapped in aluminum. Along the back, you can see we have a design very similar to the Magic Keyboard. We have our power switch on the right side. There is no LED indicator indicating when it's turned on or not, just a bright indicator on the switch itself. We also have a lightning connector, and that's because we have an internal battery this time. So we don't have to swap out the batteries anymore. You can charge this via a lightning port, and you can connect it right to your Mac and charge it even while you're using it. So it takes about 2 hours to fully charge, but you can get at least 9 hours from a 2 to 5 minute charge. But once it's fully charged, the trackpad should last at least a month on a charge, if not more. And just like the Magic Keyboard, we have an antenna strip along the back. This allows the Bluetooth antennas to work through the metal frame. Along the bottom, just like on the keyboard, we have this glossy plastic surface with the Apple logo toward the center. And in each corner, we have these rubber feet, which stabilize the trackpad on your surfaces. Now, before we get to pairing and using the new trackpad, let's get to the accessories. So, of course, we have a lightning cable, which is neatly packaged here. Again, we can use this to recharge the battery internally. We also get some paperwork with a quick start guide, regulatory information, and our warranty card. Now, once again, we have 2 options for pairing our new trackpad. We can do the standard Bluetooth method. So all we have to do is go to our Bluetooth control panel, look for our new Trackpad 2, connect it, pair it, and you're good to go. Alternatively, you can just connect a lightning cable connected to your Mac right to the trackpad, and it sets up the pairing automatically. You don't have to do anything. This is a really handy way of automatically pairing your trackpad without having to dig through the menus, especially if you don't have a mouse connected to the computer already. So once we're paired, we're good to go, and you can disconnect the cable or leave it connected if you want. It still works through Bluetooth whether the cable is connected or not. So what exactly makes the new Trackpad 2 so expensive? Well, it starts with Force Touch. So the same technology that has been added to the MacBook Pros and the new MacBooks now makes it to the desktop thanks to this accessory. So that means we no longer have a full physical click in this trackpad. It's now replicated via a taptic engine. So there's actually a motor or electric motor underneath the surface of the trackpad that simulates a physical click. This also makes the Trackpad 2 pressure sensitive. So this works with a new gesture within OS X called force clicking. Now the unusual thing about Force Touch is that it's completely indistinguishable from a physical click, even though nothing is actually clicking on the trackpad. In fact, if you turn the trackpad off, that force clicking completely goes away. So as soon as you turn it on, you get both the auditory feedback from the click as well as the physical sensation of clicking. Now, if you look along the edges of the trackpad, you can see it kind of floats here. And that's because there are force sensors under the glass panel, which needs some movement in order to determine the amount of pressure you're applying to it. So you can actually see that moving when you press harder on the trackpad. Now, force clicking introduces a new way of interacting with OS X. And force clicking happens when you press harder through a click. So you have the initial click, and then you press harder to get to a force click. So for example, you can force click on a word which brings up lookup. So this will bring up a variety of contextually aware items. So a definition, a map, an address book, or even a Wikipedia article. So one of my favorite uses for force clicking allows you to preview websites. So for example, if you're reading an article, you see some links, you force click on them, you can take a brief look at that web page, you can scroll through it, and then dismiss it and go back to what you were doing. Now effectively, this is the same trackpad that's available on the MacBooks. We even have the same settings panel. So you can change the scroll direction from natural to traditional. You can zoom in or out just by pinching in and out to zoom. You also have smart zoom, so you can just use 2 fingers, so double tap with 2 fingers to zoom in and out. You can also rotate by twisting your fingers. We have gestures like swipe between pages, swipe between full screen apps. We have our notification center, which you can evoke by swiping in from the edge of the trackpad. We have mission control, which you can bring up by swiping up with 3 fingers. We can also activate app expose by swiping down with 3 fingers. You can also invoke the launchpad by pinching in with your thumb and 3 fingers. And you can also quickly show your desktop by spreading with your thumb and 3 fingers. In terms of point and click, we have lookup and data detector. So you can choose this with a force click, or you can use tap with 3 fingers to achieve the same thing. We also have secondary click, so you can enable that. That's off by default. And you can also enable tap to click. Now you can change the intensity of the click, so you can go for a lighter click, a medium click, or a firm click if you want something less sensitive, and you can also change your tracking speed. We can also enable silent clicking. So if you want the sensation of a physical click, but you want it to be quieter, you can enable this. And if you want, you can completely turn off force clicking and the haptic feedback. Now, compared to the previous generation, obviously there's a pretty big change in form factor. It's quite a bit bigger, quite a bit wider. Of course, you have an internal battery instead of the battery compartment, which meant you had to swap out the batteries anytime they ran out. Now, the big change here is that we no longer have a physical click. The previous generation's click was actually built into the feet of the trackpad, which means it had to be on a hard surface in order for the physical click to work. And since the clicking mechanism was hinged toward the bottom on the old trackpad, that means the click was stiffer toward the top than the bottom. But of course, with the new trackpad, it doesn't matter where you click on it, you get the same feedback. So ultimately, in the end, this is by far the largest trackpad in Apple's lineup. So if you like a lot of surface area, especially with a large display, so if you have a large display for a 27-inch iMac, or even bigger if you have an attached display, this larger surface area for moving across the screen real estate could definitely benefit you over the more cramped, smaller square shape from the previous generation. And of course, the trackpad gives you access to a lot of unique OS X features that are not available with a standard mouse, either the Magic Mouse 2 or an attached third-party mouse. Now, personally, what I like to do is leave a trackpad connected for day-to-day tasks, which gives me access to all those unique OS X gestures. But when I need something more substantial for video editing, I'll jump right back to my Logitech MX Master. Alright guys, so what do you think? Are you a trackpad person or a mouse person? Let me know in the comment section below. I hope you guys stay tuned for my 21.5-inch 4K iMac review coming up pretty shortly. If you guys like this video, please give it a thumbs up to let me know, and I'll see you again in the next one.